We'll start over. Everybody who is seeing the recording, all I did was introduce myself. And now we're getting started with calendars. So thank you, Mr. Troy. So I shared a screenshot of this calendar and it freaked everybody out. They were very overwhelmed by the color coding. They were overwhelmed by the blocks and how I manage it. And so I wanted to take some time to show people how to build this, because this is what allows me to be extremely efficient, extremely productive in my day. So most of the time when I look at somebody's calendar, it looks a little more like this. Occasionally, you might see a meeting or two on it, but you won't see somebody being very intentional with their time. And so that's where I kind of wanted to start, was talking about best practices with the calendar and all of those things that you have to do in life. So yes, Miss Cat, I have realized about myself, being a little bit ADHD in this world, that I need reminders for personal things just as much as I need reminders for business items. So if you look at that calendar that I was sharing, you'll see my number one priority is I bookend my day. I will actually come in here and say, okay, my kid, my 3-year-old is my priority number one. So I'm going to put blocks on my calendar that remind me of when I am spending time with him, from the time he wakes up to the time he goes to school. And then again, when I choose to pick him up at the end of the day. And you'll also see that I'm intentional about trying to pick him up earlier and not leave him later every day. Now, for example, today I've got a meeting. I got to drag that time block just a little bit and say that I'm going to pick him up a little bit later. So my kid, my family come first, and then second come all of my meetings. And so what I do is most weeks, I will just have my week planned out with my calendar meetings first. That's those standing appointments that I'm committed to somebody else with. And that is all I'm going to time block for to start with. Time off and time with other people. I don't sit there and try to time block the entirety of my week, my month, or my year, because I know that projects are going to come up, different to-dos are going to happen, life events are going to happen. And so I get very overwhelmed by the idea of trying to make a perfect calendar for a week or a month. And then all of a sudden I have to move every single block I've created because something happened. There was a snowstorm and I had to take off a day. My kid got sick, or, like for example, this week, Thursday, I got to take my car in. Now my appointment's at 8:15, but I don't know how long the dealership is actually going to be. So I'm making sure that people are not going to time block extra meetings with me. And then I'll work on to-dos while I'm there. So meetings come first. And now I see, Kristen, you've asked a great question about my color coding. I'll get into that a little bit more. But I want to show you how I get to the point from going from meetings to then time blocking tasks, to-dos, and non-people oriented things. So Kat pointed out that she saw my tasks on here. And you'll notice I've got things like, don't forget to eat, which, by the way, I did do that before this meeting, so I can check it off. Don't forget my daily vitamins, because I stink at doing that sometimes too. I can check that off. But what I love about this is I can choose, do I need a time-specific task or do I need a daily task? So what'll happen is I can actually view on this sidebar different tools inside Google. So tasks right here is the one that we're talking about right now. And if you don't know how to use this sidebar, I will grab the how-to and drop that in the chat. It's this one right here. Copy link, and then we'll go back. So what'll happen is there's the how-to. If you don't know how to enable that taskbar, you can look at your daily tasks. Now you'll see mine is fairly short. I've got about a week's worth of tasks on here. I can handle that. Some people can only handle a day. Most people cannot handle more than a week. So I will encourage you, as you start to dive into creating tasks, be intentional about what tasks you feel you can actually accomplish in a time frame. So the other thing you'll notice is I've got all these tasks on here that are not showing up in this list. Google has created a feature that allows you to actually categorize tasks and put them in different buckets. So I have a bucket for to-dos, things that actually need to be done, but I also have one for reminders of operations. So I will put things on here like payroll. I will put things on here like marketing content if I need to. Social media, this is for me. I really don't like social media. Miss Danielle Willis is on here. She knows how much I hate it. And yet I made a commitment to try to be more intentional about sharing positive things that are going to provide value to others on social media on a daily basis. Now, that doesn't mean I have to do a business post every day or 3 business posts a day or anything like that. But I went from posting a whole lot of baby pictures to now that I have a 3-year-old, I can barely capture a solid snapshot of him. So I'm still trying to post positive things, family-related things, community things, in addition to those business posts that'll help drive things forward. So I put those under a social media to-do list, and then I set them as a recurring task. So that's the great thing is you can choose how frequently do you want it. So I've got mine set up once a week, and my personal tasks are every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Now, if I miss one, it will tell me that I missed it. If I want to change it, I can click and drag it, and I can choose whether or not it goes up here at the top. For me, the top of my calendar and my tasks is just a reminder that I need to do it sometime in the day, and it's not time specific. What is great is anything that is time specific, all I have to do is choose to set that time, and then it'll recur on that time based on your selection. So you'll see here, I had update my 411 on here yesterday. That to me was a personal task. So you can see that's another bucket I've got things in. And you'll see that it reminded me, you didn't do this yesterday. You didn't check it off, which is also why it still stands out on my calendar versus the ones that I do complete, like checking off eating or vitamins. Those go gray like the rest of my calendar to help me out. If you're the type of person that wants to look at a task list, but not look at the whole calendar, because maybe that's still overwhelming, you're still getting used to that. The other great thing that Google does is it allows you, if you're inside a Google workspace, so this doesn't work in the same capacity with all the color coding and the insights and the tasks in a free Google account, but you can buy a Google Workspace account for as little as $11.99 a month, and I highly recommend it. So I can come up here and you'll see at the top of my screen, I'm looking at my calendar view right now. I can actually switch over to tasks and I can look just at those buckets. So this is where I find this to be most helpful in my daily planning is I know what all my tasks are and things I need to accomplish are, but I also may have achieved things yesterday that I want to add to my list, or I need to update my operations. So I can come here and look at this holistically versus looking at it in a sequential timeline. So again, that goes back to whatever way your brain works, that's what's going to really allow you to maximize and become more productive. You pick the path that works for you based on the tools and the allowance of organization. So you can see I've got a lot going on here. Okay. Now, the other thing that I like to point out, and I did mention, was you saw that my task list is not very long. That doesn't mean that I don't have a lot to do in the operation of 3 businesses and a life. So what I've done is I've learned to leverage Google Keep. A lot of people, like I mentioned before recording, a lot of people have heard of something like Trello or Monday or Asana, all amazing tools. And if they work for you, go for it. For me, I like to keep as simple as possible. And for me, simplicity is utilizing the Google tools that already work together. So Google Keep is on the sidebar, just like the tasks are. but you can also go to a full-blown web page. And so I don't know if you have ever memorized Google URLs. I'm a big fan of memorizing URLs just so I can type them and be lazy otherwise. So calendar is calendar.google.com. Keep is keep.google.com. Pretty simple. So you'll notice, one, I operate in dark mode. You don't have to do that. You can use the light background. Two, you'll notice that I like color coding. Again, those are organizational tools for me specifically, but you can just start with the basics of Keep. So if you've never logged into this before, it's going to look something like this. Super basic, super simple. And then at the top, it will prompt you to take a note. The reason I like Google Keep over some of those other tools is you have the ability to do a lot of different things with Keep. So on my tablet, I can pull up Keep and I can write with the stylus on my tablet directly into a Keep note and then download that as a PDF or a document later. So I use that for note taking. I also have the ability to dump photos in here, so you can add images. So if you're out taking photos and you want to share them with somebody, you can put them in Keep and then that person can grab them. You can put them there as a reminder to categorize or do something with them later. And then my favorite thing of all time is to make lists. I know that sounds really, really nerdy, but at the same time, lists can be very beneficial in terms of that productivity goal that you're setting. So when you come in here, you can type in create a task list. You can also add checkboxes. So this is where I find this super valuable because I could do this personally for myself. And I can share this task list with my VA, for example, my virtual assistant. So what I can do is I can create a shared list that she and I see across the board. We see the exact same thing in real time. But then I can come in here and be like, Jess needs to do payroll. My VA needs to do marketing, newsletter, email prep. I can come in here and create these lists and then do sub bullets. And you can just click and drag. That is if my mouse wants to behave. Y'all, it doesn't want to behave. There we go. You can click and drag and actually create outlines and lists and sub bullets. And this is why I love this so much, because what happens is I can create, like I create grocery lists and share them with my husband, and I'll categorize, okay, dairy products, it's blah, 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 blah. But he might go in and just be like milk, eggs, cheese. And so I can click and drag them into my dairy category and feel better about my list without getting annoyed with him later. So it can be used for lots of things, personally and professionally and collaboratively. So the other thing we can do is a lot of times my VA and I will sit and we'll make this list and we'll brain dump into it. And then at our next huddle meeting, we'll sit together and drag and prioritize. And then I have the ability to just see what I need to do and she knows what she needs to do. And it's a checks and balance system because she can just check it off and I can go in and look and see what's been completed at the end. So you'll see that that created that task right there. And then you have a lot of abilities within Keep again to level this up. So I'll go back to my personal one. Please don't judge my notes. But you'll see that I've got a whole bunch of pinned notes. These are the ones that I look at the most frequently. So when I open up that sidebar in my email, when I open up that sidebar in my calendar, it's going to show me the ones that I pin first using that pin icon. And that prioritizes them at the top. Then you'll see that at the bottom, I've got some pictures, I've got some other stuff. But my big one that I like is I have an ongoing needs. That's my business stuff. That's all the stuff that I have to do. I'm not going to drown in all those things going on to my task list all at once. So what I do is I brain dump everything that's an ongoing need in here. And then when I get to my daily calendar check-in and my daily 411 check-in and I plan my day, I will go and I will look at how much time do I have today? So you'll see today, I didn't have any space to do I didn't have any space to work on that ongoing needs brain dump that I've got going on. But I do on Thursday, and I can decide, do I want to prioritize all of my stuff for an hour, for 2 hours, etc. So I can choose by having them here to be a brain dump and then transfer just the key ones over to tasks. So I can say that payroll usually takes me about a half an hour. So I can make this a task and say payroll. I can say, marketing content usually takes me about an hour, and I can make that a task too. So I have the ability, again, to be really intentional about what I'm putting on my calendar. And then behind it, for the insights, I can just write to-dos, which is the other thing that I absolutely love. So I'm not going to sit there and be like, to-dos. I'm not going to write out every single thing that takes me every 5 or 10 minutes, but I can do a larger time block that allows me to just be like, yes, I was working on my to-do list. I was working on that Google Keep brain dump list. You'll see that I had like another example of course ideas. I like building content. I don't always have the chance to do that, but if I have a 2-hour block, I might block it as learning and course creation time. And then I can go into my Keep and just kind of focus on that. So this is an amazing tool, not only for you to be organized on a computer, but like I said, on the go. So I will go into a Google Keep because they have an app for your phone. They have an app for your tablet. Google Tasks, app for your phone, app for your tablet, just like the computer browser page. And then additionally, of course, you can use Calendar the same way. If you're an iPhone user, I will challenge you, download the Google Calendar, don't use the iCal, because then again, all of this stuff communicates more effectively. That's the one thing I noticed working in real estate a lot, is I had a lot of agents who were used to using their iCal, but then it wasn't updating consistently across their Google content, like when they were on a browser. So that's a quick kind of tip to make sure that you stay integrated across the board. Danielle, yes, Team Android. I know that's taboo in the world. I feel like I'm in a minority when I say that I have an Android phone. However, Google tools, to me, superior tools. So I always will lean heavily on what they can do for us. So I've talked a lot. I'm going to take a break on throwing new things at you and kind of circle back to a couple of the questions that I saw. One of the first was, how do I do the color coding on the calendar to get organized first with those big time blocks? So the way that you can do this is it's called Insights. And you will notice that if you are in a Google Workspace account, so if you're a real estate agent and you're at a brokerage or some other business that opts into Google Workspace, you'll have this automatically here. If you are using a free Google account, then you will have to upgrade and create your own Google Workspace account to get access to this. So it is technically a paid tool inside of the Google Workspace. But to me, I would pay just for Insights and not even all the other functions and features that Google Workspace has to offer. So what you would do to get a Google Workspace account is you have to create your own custom URL. So instead of JessYourBossCoach@gmail.com, I'm Jess@YourBossCoach.com. Having that YourBossCoach.com, that URL is what allowed me to purchase a Google Workspace. And then you can use it, whether it's publicly or just personally, that Google Workspace is there for you to use. So I'm back to my blank calendar. This is the one that I have not built out. And to show you it, to get started, right over here underneath the calendar month at a glance and the meet with people is Time Insights. So you'll know very quickly if you have a Workspace account or a free account, because Time Insights will not show up in that free account. So what'll happen is you can click on it and it'll show you your time breakdowns. It'll start with meetings if you've got some of those on the calendar, but if it's completely blank like this, you'll see that everything is blank. The way that you start working with insights is you can create working hours. So if your intention is to work Monday through Friday, and I'm going to work in my home, which is also my office, I can do that once, hit copy to all. I can enable the working hours and actually put time parameters. So for me, I drop my kid off by 8. My intention is to be able to go pick him up by 3. And I do that every day. Now, I showed you in the beginning, I move those time blocks sometimes, like if I have a meeting later in the day, if his school has early drop off, but having kind of a set parameter helps you get started with the insights. And once you enable that, you'll be able to hit the back arrow in the upper left corner. And then you will be able to start creating insights. So let's say we got a class right now. We can create a normal standard calendar event. And what'll happen is it shows up as whatever your default calendar color is way over here. And you can always, those 3 dots, change it to be whatever pretty color you want. But you'll notice as soon as I start adding to this calendar, when I enable those insights, you'll see that it starts showing up under the default. If I want to start categorizing them and learning from them, and I've seen the question several times about recordings. Yes, it's recorded and you'll get the copy. What you can do is you can edit this and you'll notice this color button right here. I can add a label, which is the insight label. So I don't have any made on this account, so I'm going to make one just to show you guys how this works. So we can say meetings. And let's say I want my meetings to be purple. And then personal can be that lovely teal color. Blue can be operations tasks, transaction tasks. Learning and creation time can be another color. So it's really whatever insight is going to work best for you and your business. I've got people on this call that are in a multitude of industries. So really, you're going to have to be intentional and think about what benefits you the most. What categories or buckets or umbrellas do you use that would the insights on where you spend your time would be helpful? One of my clients, for example, she got smart and she started labeling specific projects that were given to her. So she was working on a project and she wanted to know exactly how much time that project took her. So you can totally label it project, or you can even label the project specifically, like this class, Hustle Hacks. I want to know how much time I spend working on Hustle Hacks. So I can create one insight at a time. I can create my whole list of insights. And then they're always going to show up when you're either creating a new event or when you're editing an event. And you can start choosing how those work. And then when you save, you'll see that your default color is on the far left. But at the same time, it moved it from my general generic time into the project time. So you can go and you can start seeing, and what's amazing is if you do this consistently, you can not only look at how much time you spend in a place in a week, but you can actually do a month and a year. So I'll show you. I started doing this part of the way through the year. So I have great time insights into my month. Let's see, month, and we can just change that view up here. So you can see where I've spent time in my month so far. But I can also look at a whole year and it'll tell you how much time you spend in all of those. So remaining time, just to answer any questions around that, is specific to your working hours, missing a time block where you say that you're busy. So I use this personally with the default. I'm like, I look at my week and I say, hey, did I actually categorize everything correctly? And if you hover over it, it pops that color out and stands out. So I can say, oh, I didn't categorize these things yet. Now, they're also 2 days away, but I know, for example, that this boot camp class is a meeting that I'm going to be attending. So I can come in here and just change it really fast. And that will update my default time. And then it'll keep popping those out again and again until you clean that up. So that way you can start, like I said, start with a day, start small, then start with the week, the month, the year, and it builds up over time. And I was a nerd. It overwhelmed me for a hot minute because I was like, I really want to know what all of 2023 was, since I can consistently use this calendar for all of 2023. I totally categorized January and half of February. And then I was like, why am I doing this? I just need to be intentional moving forward and not worry about going backwards, because still at a week or at a month glance, I can get good time insights. So I've seen, again, several extra questions. Recording is coming to you. Notes are coming to you. Links are coming to you on how to find all these things. The other thing that I wanted to share, because I know that a lot of people get overwhelmed by trying to categorize tasks or by trying to use Google Keep. So one thing that I found really helpful was, I'm a spreadsheet nerd. I built a spreadsheet, which is my free gift to you for attending this, that helps you figure out what your actual priorities are that you need to get done. So what I will do is I'll share this in the chat. I'll also share it in the replay email so anybody can get a copy. And what you're going to do is, to get your own copy, you just hit File, Make a Copy. And if you forget that, that's in the notes at the top of the page in blue. But what you can do is you can come in here, and this main page is the summary page. So the way this works is you come in here and you go to the activity tracker. It's the only one you can edit with intention. So that way you don't mess up the formulas in the other one. But what you do is you come in here, put in your to-dos that you need to do. So I jokingly just put in generic things: wake up, eat, do things, more things, do things. But what I did was I created it in such a way where when you download your own copy, you can actually prioritize all of these things. So you can say, waking up, is that critical, high, medium, or low? Maybe today it's low. I don't know. And you can default with a no. And every time that you mark something no, you have not completed it, it will take the priority level and sort it into these buckets for you. So you see, I sorted wake up into low. If I click on my low tab, wake up shows there right now. So each of these tabs will show you the priorities based on how you categorize and when you say no. That way, when you say yes, it takes it off the list. So that way you can be super intentional with your time and your energy, because you can also say what is critical, and by putting how many minutes you think it's going to take, you can prioritize your day by looking at the summary. So check this out. Right now, I have 1 hour and 35 minutes of critical priority tasks. So when I go look at my calendar in the day, and y'all, just so you know, I have 4 computer screens. So if I'm talking with my hand in different screens, that's why. So I will put my calendar on one screen. I'll put something like this tool or my Google Keep or my tasks on the other. And I will actually figure out, okay, I have this much blank space today. I think I can get this many things done as tasks. So I will start with what's critical. What do I need to do first? And this allows me to prioritize. So apparently I need to wake up, eat, do more things, and then test some things. Those are my critical things. And as I do them and I check them off, so let me find another critical, that's going to shrink my critical list down, and it's going to change the amount of time that I have to spend in that category. So again, you'll see, if you're doing this well and you're being intentional with your time, your low priority is going to have the most time. Your critical and high should have less time, because you should be prioritizing those things. Okay. So this is here. Like I said, feel free to make a copy, feel free to share it with people, feel free to change the colors if you want. But my brain is big on color coding. You'll notice that I color coded here. I color coded my calendar. Again, I do things like my coaching calls stand out big and better than everything else, so that way I don't miss them when I have them sitting on the side of my email or something like that. I am very intentional about tasks. I'm not actually showing you all my personal tasks because I think I'd make some of you cry. I have a much longer task list in this, because for me, I find it helpful to be able to check things off. I like that little dopamine hit of I did this thing today, yay me. And so what I'll do is I just build out my personal task list and it overlays on my calendar and it makes me feel so good about getting stuff done. So that is kind of my overview of all of this. I know it's a lot. Like I said, I have the recording. I'm going to send it out. You can pause it. You can replay it. You can play it at half speed because I talk fast. You can also email me if you have any questions. But this to me is just, it's such a value when you can kind of learn how to do it. And I think it's important to learn how to do it because I came into an industry where immediately they were teaching time blocking. Immediately they were like, you have to know exactly what you're doing with your calendar every day of the week. And I tried that concept of, I'm going to put all my tasks on here and I'm going to put everything as a time block. And then I realized that that does not work. So by kind of marrying these different places and figuring out, okay, high priorities, longer term projects, here's what my day looks like, and juggling those tools, it allows me to be way more intentional. So I am going to stop the screen share unless we have screen share specific questions, and I'm going to answer a few that I've seen in the chat. So first and foremost, I know I just saw recently, why do I recommend TidyCal over Calendly for bookings? My thing is money, first and foremost. So TidyCal is a one-time $29 fee, and that's it, no monthly things. And you can have way more functions and features than the paid Calendly. So it works the same way. You can create multiple bookings. It can read multiple calendars, but my whole life is how do I spend less money and do more and get more time? So TidyCal is why I recommend that specifically. That's also why I don't use Monday. I don't use Asana. I don't use paid Trello or anything like that because I have a paid Google Workspace account. And I find that I can do everything way more efficiently there without bolting on other tools. The more tools that I bolt on, the less efficient I am because I'm going different places. The other thing that I will put out there is I know that that was just one piece of Google tools. It's a lot for 45 minutes or so, although I talk fast, so 41 minutes. But at the same time, there's way more to explore. There are, there's collaboration, there's communication, there is organization in Google Docs and all sorts of fun things. So what I wanted to let you guys know is I am going to offer a series of classes in January around more of this just to be more beneficial. So that is something that I want to throw out there. However, I want to make sure that before people have to log off, because I want to be really respectful of time, I get every other question answered. So let's see what else we got. I'm totally fine with people unmuting and asking questions too as I scroll through the chat. Kat Johnson, Trello. I don't use Trello. My workflows are all built into Google Keep. And then I also build things into Google Docs. So if you're thinking about, since I know you're in the real estate space, if you're thinking about like checklists for transactions, I do all of that in spreadsheets, Google Sheets. I have a daily reminder through Google Keep. One of them is check the onboarding. And I can make Google Keep remind me to check things every day. I can put a task in my calendar to check something every day, but I would much rather use a Google product than something else. Sam, did I see you unmute?
I did. Yeah. So, for the insights.
Yeah.
Can insights like track other calendars that are shared?
No.
Okay. So that
I know exactly here. I can show you. I know exactly where you're going with that. So because I work in 3 businesses, I have multiple calendars.
Right.
So I have my Leverage Strong business calendar as a separate calendar. So what I do is if I enable it, you'll see all this light green stuff is my calendar. What I did was I created a Leverage Strong Insight, and I put a Leverage Strong Insight time block on my key I Love Coaching calendar because that's my primary calendar.
Got it.
How much time I spend in Leverage Strong, because you'll see I've got way more light green, but
Mhm.
those are not all a high priority to me. So
Right.
what I prioritize becomes that time block on my primary calendar.
So you kind of like overlaid a
I
time
do.
block
So
for this.
usually
Okay.
if I'm not sharing my screen, I have, and like I'm just looking at my calendar on a daily basis, which I know this is going to scare the crap out of people. I usually have my Leverage Strong, my personal, my shared with my husband, my event calendar for I Love Coaching, and the several training programs I'm in, as well as my content teaching calendar, all showing at once. And
Mhm.
again, that goes back to color coding. I
Right.
pick colors that I stand out, so they always mean the same thing to me. And then I can toggle those layered calendars on and off. But because I know that I need to see like everything at a glance, if I'm planning a meeting with my business partner, Adam, and I have his calendar. So if I can have everything on one, I can hide all those others, overlay his on mine, and then be like, okay, what matches? So that's why I think it's important to integrate or time block, use those insights to put the other business things on there just as much as you put personal things on there. So like, for example, we went to the circus, that was on our family shared calendar, but I still put a time block on things under personal just because I like to know where I spend my time. So
Hey Jess,
yeah,
sorry, tacking on to that, can
yeah.
you create, gosh, so I have two separate calendars and sometimes one task or one event doesn't show up on the other.
Mhm.
How do you make sure that you're scheduling everything on one web page? Or I drive a lot clearer because I'm in real estate on my
Yeah,
iPhone. I need to make sure that that event, that's what I struggle with, to make sure
yeah.
that when I'm just on my calendar, I want to make
Mhm.
sure that I'm not overlapping anything. How
Right.
can you schedule events through your various businesses through
Uh-huh.
one calendar?
And that's where, again, I will encourage you pick one to be your primary and then share everything to that one. So, example would be like I Love Coaching is my primary calendar, Leverage Strong is the secondary calendar. So you can see I've got a meeting right here, but if I hide that green, it's not there because I haven't prioritized it. So what I will do is if it's a priority to me, I'll click on it and use those three dots
Mhm.
and I can duplicate it. I can copy it to my I Love Coaching calendar, all sorts of things there. So really, honestly, there's two options of you can copy it to the other calendar. So you'll see I just copied it over. So now it shows up as a time block there with all the details. Or as somebody else I know does, every time that they see this here, they'll go in and they'll add their other calendar as a guest. And that way it gets shared to them. I don't like to do that when other people are managing meetings. So I like that copy to feature way better. But I would just say if you practice being intentional on one, then all the others kind of fall into place as you build that habit and start using those time insights and color coding.
And can you do all this through the app?
Yeah, yeah. So what I've done,
Mhm.
like for example, on my phone, every calendar that you can see shared here, I can see on my phone in Google Calendar. And just like I toggle them on and off on the computer screen, I can toggle them off and on my tablet or my phone. I can duplicate them. I can copy them from one calendar to another. All the things you see here, I can do in all my devices, which is another reason I find it really important to use the Google Calendar and not your device native calendar.
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
use the Samsung calendar since I have a Samsung phone. I don't teach my mom to use the iCal on her iPhone. Ugh. But it's just one of those things where Google is so integrated and so good at being updated in real time and communicating that it's a much more efficient tool for that very reason. When people share things to your iCal, it doesn't always update to Google. When
Yeah.
people make a change on Google, it doesn't always update to iCal or Samsung. And
Right.
so I just find it very important to pick one place and commit to it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Of course.
I look forward to your further trainings. That'll be in your email too, yeah?
Yes, it will.
Awesome.
So I'll be teaching a 4-week course. And just so everybody knows, I mean, I get paid to coach and teach. So, but at the same time, I want to make it really accessible to people. So I've reduced the price by 80%. So it'll be $97 for the 4 weeks. I'll do 4 live trainings plus replay emails, notes, and all of the replays will be accessible in a portal to make things really easy on everybody. So if that's something that's of interest to you, you can use my discount code that'll be available for 48 hours to get it at $97. But I'll put that in the replay email if you want to consider it and look at your financials as well. I just want to make sure that I'm helping people level up, and January is the perfect time to do that. The other thing is maybe it's not for you, but maybe you work on a team or with an individual that would really benefit from that. Buy it for them for Christmas. You know, just think about how you can maximize your New Year's resolutions that you're probably making and really level them up and set yourself up for success in 2024. So what I'm going to do is one more time, I'm going to put my link tree in the chat. And the only other thing that I will ask you guys of is on my link tree, there's an event survey feedback form. It's anonymous, but I would love your feedback on this class to see how I can improve it for next time. So unless there's any other questions, I can wrap this up and give you guys back a few minutes of your day. There is my link tree with the survey in there. Like I said, replays going out to everybody. Links are going out to everybody, and it'll come from my personal email. So if you have any questions about what I taught, or you want to have a discussion about your systems, do a little systems audit, or even talk about what it looks like to get productivity coaching, just let me know and I'm happy to help. So thank you everyone so much again, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.